Hello everyone. So in the last video we had studied about the physical properties of metals and non-metals. In this video we are going to study about the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. Now metals and non-metals show different chemical properties. Some of the important chemical properties of metals and non-metals will be discussed in this video. First is reaction with oxygen. Metals react with oxygen to form metal oxides. Metal oxides are basic in nature. So here we are discussing that how iron reacts with oxygen. Now during the rusting of iron metal combines slowly with oxygen of air in the presence of water to form a compound called iron oxide. The iron oxide is actually rust. Now in this activity, we need to collect a spoonful of rust and dissolve it in a very little amount of water. And then you will find that the rust remains suspended in water. And if we check the rust with a red or a blue litmus paper, what do you observe? So we will observe that the red litmus paper turns to blue, which means that the rust is basic in nature. Now in the next activity we are taking sulfur, that is a non-metal. So sulfur is a non-metal. We take a small amount of sulfur powder in a deflagrating spoon and heat it over a flame. As soon as the sulfur starts burning with a blue flame, we introduce the deflagrating spoon in a gas jar and allow the sulfur to burn inside the gas jar. Cover the gas jar with a lid to prevent the gas being formed from escaping. Sulfur burns in the air of gas jar to form a pungent smelling gas, that is the sulfur dioxide. Remove the deflagrating spoon from the gas jar. We now put some water in the gas jar, cover it with a lid and shake it to dissolve sulfur dioxide gas. Add some blue litmus solution to the gas jar. We see that the blue litmus solution turns red, which shows that sulfur dioxide gas is acidic in nature. As sulfur is a non-metal which forms an acidic oxide. Hence, from the activities, we conclude that firstly, metals form metal oxides on burning in air. Metal oxides are basic in nature and turn the red litmus paper to blue. The non-metals form non-metal oxides on burning in air. Non-metal oxides are acidic in nature and turn the blue litmus paper to red. This property of the nature of oxides can be used to identify whether a given substance is a metal or a non-metal. If an element forms a basic oxide, then the element will be a metal. If an element forms an acidic oxide, then the element will be a non-metal. Next is the reaction with water. When a metal reacts with water, then a metal hydroxide and hydrogen gas are formed. The vigor or intensity of reaction of a metal with water depends upon its chemical reactivity. Some metals react vigorously even with cold water. Some metals react with hot water. Some metals react with steam, whereas some metals do not react even with steam. For example, sodium is a very highly reactive metal. Therefore, sodium metal reacts violently even with cold water. Magnesium is a comparatively less reactive metal, so it reacts slowly with cold water. It reacts rapidly only with the hot boiling water or steam. The metals like zinc and iron are less reactive, which react slowly even with steam. And the metals like copper, silver and gold are so unreactive that they do not react with water or even with steam. The reaction of sodium metal with water releases sodium hydroxide and hydrogen gas is released with a pop sound. Non-metals do not react with water. Sulfur is a non-metal. Sulfur does not react with water. In fact, some of the reactive non-metals are kept under water to protect them from the action of air. For example, phosphorus is a very reactive non-metal. If phosphorus is kept open in the air, it reacts with oxygen of air and catches fire. So, in order to protect phosphorus from atmospheric air, it is stored in a bottle containing water. Next is the reaction with acids. Most of the metals react with dilute acids to form salts and hydrogen gas. Only the less reactive metals like copper, silver and gold do not react with dilute acids. The vigor of the reaction of a metal with dilute acid depends on the chemical reactivity of the metal. Depending upon the reactivity, some metals react violently with dilute acids, some metals react rapidly with dilute acids, some metals react with dilute acids only on heating, whereas some metals do not react with dilute acids at all. Non-metals do not react with dilute acids. Non-metals, like if we take some sulfur powder or charcoal powder in a test tube and add dilute hydrochloric acid, then no reaction takes place even on heating. This shows that sulfur and carbon non-metals do not react with dilute acids and hence no hydrogen gas is produced. Some of the non-metals, however, react with hot and concentrated sulfuric acid and nitric acid, but no hydrogen gas is produced in such cases. Now next is the displacement reactions. A more reactive metal displaces a less reactive metal from its salt solution. This means that when a more reactive metal is placed in a salt solution of a less reactive metal, then the more reactive metal displaces, that is pushes out the less reactive metal from its salt solution. The more reactive metal becomes a part of the salt, whereas the less reactive metal is set free. Like for example, when copper sulfate reacts with zinc, then zinc sulfate is formed as zinc displaces copper from copper sulfate and copper is set free as zinc is more reactive than copper. In this case, the solution turns greenish due to the formation of the solution turns completely colorless from blue to colorless. But if the same reaction is reverted, like for example zinc sulfate when reacts with copper, no reaction occurs because copper is not more reactive than zinc and therefore no displacement reaction will take place. So finally, now we are going to discuss the comparison between chemical properties of metals and non-metals. Metals form basic oxides, whereas non-metals form acidic oxides. Metals react with water to produce hydrogen gas. Non-metals do not react with water. Metals react with dilute acids to produce hydrogen gas, whereas non-metals do not react with dilute acids.